Sky Vodka. Please drink responsibly.
Pardon the interruption, but I'm Pablo Torre, and it is always an honor to guest host this show with one of my personal heroes, Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. You're too kind. It is actually my honor to work with this person.
Really?
Yeah. Where the hell is Wilbon?
You know, you went to my wedding. It was a year ago this past weekend, actually.
I did go to your wedding.
Does this mean that
How's that marriage working out?
How's that wedding gift coming?
I have 1 year, don't I?
And it has passed.
Great. So you didn't get it?
No.
Where the hell is Wilbon? Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. Wilbon has the day off, so I'm pleased to be joined by a kid in a skinny tie.
Thanks.
And we begin today night against Arizona. Pablo, should Thursday night games be illegal?
So when we figure out the answer to this very legitimate question, I think it's important for people who are kind of against the flag footballization of football to realize who is in favor of getting rid of Thursday night football. Because now we have Doug Baldwin, but we also have Richie Incognito, who's not one of these like soft dudes, right?
Right.
He is the opposite of that. Richard Sherman, the guy in question here, the dude is the head of the Legion of Boom. So this is not the two-hand touch brigade advocating for this. So we should probably listen when those guys begin to express complaints about the lack of recovery time.
I don't care particularly for the Thursday night game, but I'm pretty sure that the league gets $900 million a year in this contract. Do you think that players would be willing to take less salary in order to get rid of the Thursday night game? I mean, my sense of this, that the solution is pretty easy, to get rid of Thursday night and simply make it Friday night. I've never understood why high school football in Texas can keep the NFL out of Friday night. If you play Sunday and then you play Friday, it's not the same as Sunday to Thursday. People play Monday night games and then play Sunday.
Right.
I've never gotten this.
Well, I think there is like a scientific investigation, a research question at the heart of this. And the big problem, of course, Tony, is that the NFL fears nothing more, perhaps even more than the loss of that $900 million. That's so insane to even say out loud. What they fear even more is unlocking a closet door that has in huge font the word science on it. They don't want to know if they actually should get rid of Thursday night because this is one of the big existential threats to them.
Here's one of the problems I have. The single greatest day in the regular season in the NFL is Thanksgiving, where there are now 3 games, and everybody sits and watches those games. And the last time I looked, Thanksgiving was still on a Thursday. And 6 teams play that. If it's terrible for those 6 to play, why do the other 26 get a pass? So that's why, I mean, maybe you could do it where out of your bye week, they arrange a schedule. Out of your bye week, you play Thursday.
But
I don't know.
It is crazy, though. The NBA, for instance, is more progressive about scheduling adjustments because of health than the NFL is.
Well, the NBA season now lasts 14 months every single year.
And they don't fear science in the same way. But speaking of all of this safety stuff, there was yet another controversy from Thursday night. After taking this concussion protocol-worthy hit, we watched a defiant Russell Wilson leave the field, sort of duck in and out of a tent, and then return after missing only 1 play. Now, Wilson got more fully evaluated a little later, but the league is now reviewing whether the Seahawks should be punished for sidestepping the concussion protocol. Tony, does the league have a real issue here?
Well, I mean, it didn't look like much of a test, did it?
No.
Did it look like it was thorough? No. He later said they asked him a bunch of questions. I guess it wasn't there. It was later. And I said to you earlier, the questions are, what's your name? Who's your daddy? Is he rich like me? He just jumped back out onto the field. And if I understand the concussion protocol test completely, you have an independent doctor and a team doctor, and they determine whether you can get back on the field. I don't think that passes the smell test of that protocol.
That felt like a really terrible Clark Kent turning into Superman impression.
Yeah.
And we should note, though, that players hate self-reporting, and fans hate self-reporting concussions, and the team obviously does, and the league, I think, probably does too, because of all the terrible PR, of course. But remember, Myles Garrett self-reported a concussion last week, and we all got on him, or at least a lot of people did, for being less of a man, for putting himself out of a game because of it. So I'm not surprised by Russell Wilson trying to avoid this.
Right.
It's just that we need to recoil as a collective group of football observers more when these hits happen, because we don't.
In his defense, it's possible. I mean, what he said was, I took a hit in the jaw and in the neck and not necessarily to the crown of the head. The referee was doing his job. It looked like a
tried,
terrible
it
hit.
seems.
Right, and sent him off the field. I suspect that Seattle will be fined, and that what Seattle will say is, well, did you see him later in the game when he ran around and he made that great scramble and he completed that pass? He looked pretty good, didn't he? Looked fine. So but if there is a protocol, you have to follow the protocol.
You got to do it not just on Thursday night in November, but you got to do it in the Super Bowl when it matters.
If you have Richard Sherman talking about Thursday night leading to a lack of player safety, and his own teammate is taking himself out of a safety protocol, I mean, those two things are at odds at that point.
No, and we need to realize as fans, right? Like, we can watch that video and not recoil at all. If he had a bone sticking out of skin, if he had an ankle, it would be so different, and it should be the opposite way.
We move now to the continuing adventures of America's new fun couple, Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell. Jones has written a letter to all the other NFL owners saying that not only is the proposed compensation for Goodell excessive, but that Falcons owner Arthur Blank in particular has failed to disclose key provisions of the extension to all the owners. Pablo, do you believe Jerry Jones is acting in the best interest of the league?
I think he might be inadvertently, because we can distinguish between motive behind an action and the consequences of said action. And he here, I think, is motivated by what he always is, which is his bottom line. Ezekiel Elliott, bad for his bottom line, him being suspended by Roger Goodell. All of these things with the protests, bad. Both sides. The idea that Roger Goodell doesn't have a very high value over replacement commissioner. So this may be good for the league.
So his war isn't as good as it ought to be.
Nowhere near compared to the Adam Silvers and Rob Manfreds of the world at this point.
This is clearly a food fight. Jerry Jones is
kind of amazing.
Blutarsky, and he's throwing cream puffs all over the dining hall. But he is not inconsequential.
No.
He's not. He's important to the league. He's made a lot of money for a lot of people, and I think this will hurt Roger Goodell. Even if all the other owners say to Jerry Jones, you're only doing this for Ezekiel Elliott and you're acting crazy, Goodell also takes a hit because Jones is so visible and has made money for the league. And if he goes around accusing all the other owners, they may hate him, but some of that tarnish will rub off on Goodell, I think.
Well, Jerry Jones, if you're Roger Goodell looking at Jerry Jones, you see a guy who is fearless.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying.
And perhaps crazy.
And motivated, in his own words, by angst. Like that is the unifying theory of Jerry Jones.
The thing that's hard to get over is that last year he created not a stir when Tom Brady was thrown out of the league for 4 games. So you have to think this is all self-involved with Ezekiel Elliott.
Right. And Roger Goodell, if he has any value to these owners, is as the shield for them. Keep them out of the news, and now it turns out
he's the shield of the shield.
Exactly. Yeah. But now we move on to an intra-office conflict of a different kind, because the Thunder held a closed-door meeting after losing to the Nuggets last night, OKC's 4th straight loss. Russell Westbrook, you may recall, opted to sign this massive extension to stay with the Thunder this summer, as opposed to waiting and seeing what this season held. So, Tony, given all of this, do you think Westbrook will regret that decision to re-up early with Oklahoma City?
I don't know the details of the contract. You're telling me he has no outs? Like after X year, he has no outs?
He's stuck there for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. So I sit here day after day with Wilbon, and we do the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's the same story. Are the Cleveland Cavaliers in real trouble? Is this no longer a blip on the screen? And both of us pretty much sit here and we say, well, if we're judging on recent history, that by the end of the year, LeBron James is going to be in the finals no matter who he's playing with. Yep. I think what's happening in Oklahoma City, while I may think that Paul George, who never makes a game-winning shot, is overrated, and I may think that Carmelo Anthony is overrated, they are perennial all-stars. And there is an accommodation that has to be made, which Russell Westbrook is trying to make. He took 24 shots a game last year. He's taking 18 now. I just don't think after 10 or 11 games you can make any judgment.
I picked this team to be the second best team in the West, and I look very foolish for that prediction. I'm just not ready to back up off of it yet.
They played 11 games.
It's
out of
11
82.
games. It's still November, and the religion that smart GMs ascribe to, and Sam Presti I would put in that category, is that talent tends to rise to the top in a league like this. 3 stars, even if the 3rd star, Carmelo Anthony, is lesser than Russell Westbrook and Paul George, tends to be a winning formula. But to your point about how many shots Russell Westbrook is taking, the hierarchy within that big 3 is what's curious, because these guys in that meeting, I hope, address the fact that Melo is currently shooting more and scoring more than the other two guys. And you got to have the pecking order of Westbrook and then George and then
But don't you think that
Melo.
Westbrook is trying to prove that he can be for this team what James Harden became for Houston? He's still doing 10 assists a game.
Yep.
He's trying.
Yep.
I think his image is raised by the fact that he's accommodating these other players.
Yeah, but that's also a low standard of egotism, right? Oh, thank you for resembling kind of a normal superstar who'll move the ball around while they're last, by the way, in passes per game.
Ben Simmons, who spent 1 year at LSU before going to the NBA, does not think that players should be forced to go to college at all. Simmons told Uninterrupted, quote, "It's a dirty business. Looking back at it now, I don't even really know what I learned financially or just being a person at LSU," unquote. In response, Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, said, quote, "If someone doesn't want to go to college, don't go to college. We don't put a gun to your head. It's a university. We're in the human development business," unquote. Pablo, does Mark Emmert effectively rebut Ben Simmons?
I question, Tony, whether the business is human development as opposed to using humans for business development. That seems to be the NCAA mission statement, because you're bathing in capitalism while suddenly trying to decide that actually we're here for the development of our young people. But Emmert has a point. If you're not here to enjoy the fruits of what college offers, don't go to college. The problem is that sounds like a really transparent bluff. Because one and done is a legit conversation to have, and I don't know if the NCAA loves that rule either. But if you're going to tell every one of these recruits, if you're not here for human development, don't come, then guess what? No one's going to go who's good at basketball.
I've never understood why you can't go straight to the pros. I've never understood that at all. It should be pointed out that Ben Simmons was raised all the way up through high school in Australia and doesn't go through the AAU system, doesn't understand the system that everybody else goes through here. But when Emmert says that first and foremost, it's about being a student at a university, that's complete foolishness. It's nonsense, it's piety, and it's a bozo-like comment because they can't go straight to the pros. These kids, the one and dones, not only don't want to be in school, I'm willing to bet that most of them don't even go to school and just stay eligible in order to play basketball. Let them, coaches make money, commissioners make money, Mark Emmert makes money off their labors. Mark Emmert, total package, about $2 million.
Sky Vodka, part of Happy Hour.
In a story you won't hear anywhere else, PTI has learned that we have a huge weekend in college football.
Huge.
And here to help preview it for us is ESPN College Game Day analyst David Pollack, pretty in pink, as it were. One loss, Notre Dame is at undefeated Miami. You're at undefeated Miami yourself. Notre Dame is ranked higher. Do you see Notre Dame as the clear favorite?
I do. When you look at Notre Dame, they've been tested and they've answered every test, obviously minus the Georgia game early in the season. Now, that doesn't mean that their offense is going to scare everybody. Their offense is very, very physical, going against the strength of Miami's defense, which is their front seven. I mean, they got linebackers, Tony. They don't like people. They like to smash people in the face. I love it. They're physical. Defensive line is very physical. The turnovers that Miami, obviously you've seen the turnover chain over and over and over again. Well, Notre Dame doesn't turn the football over, so it's definitely going to be good matchups that will be decided by probably that turnover chain, however many times you see it.
David, elsewhere, number 6 TCU heads to number 5 Oklahoma, which has scored approximately a bazillion points, but TCU's defense is ranked 6th in the country. So how does that matchup look to you?
Yep. That's going to be one of the most fun matchups of the day because I watch Oklahoma on tape and you watch them over and over again and you go, okay, should you play man? Should you play zone? How could you defend this differently? And I don't know how you stop them. I really don't. I feel like Oklahoma's a team that would get 30 on Alabama. And I know that drives people crazy to say that, but a mobile quarterback gives you fits because you play man coverage. Obviously, it's tough because the DBs are running with their back to the quarterback. He gets to scramble. He gets to make plays. His ability to buy time and throw the ball down the field. He's got some big targets with Andrews at tight end. It's a big playmaker for him. They do a lot of unconventional stuff, and they do the jet sweeps, and there's so much to look at. And then there's Gary Patterson and that TCU defense. When you talk about completion percentage and making life difficult on quarterbacks, TCU's completion percentage, the offense is against Gary Patterson's defense, they're completing 49% of their passes.
Man.
The rest of the league is 62%. So he's got everything else. He's got everything figured out as opposed to everybody else. It's going to be an amazing matchup. Baker Mayfield, Lincoln Riley versus TCU and Gary Patterson's defense.
TCU has one loss, but they are ranked ahead of Miami, which has no losses. If both teams win, let's presume TCU wins. If both teams win, do you think that an unbeaten Miami must go over TCU?
I don't, because I look at TCU's body of work. They've got several big wins. When you look at Oklahoma State, you look at West Virginia. To me, the hardest thing to do, Tony, in college football is to go on the road and win. And TCU's done that at several spots. If you also go to Norman and you win that contest, that is enormous to me. That's a big-time statement win. Now, listen, Miami could blow the doors off of Notre Dame, and that's a big-time statement win as well. But both would be very, very impressive. But TCU's body of work so far, they deserve to be, in my opinion, ranked ahead of where Miami is. Miami, they've beaten one quality team in Virginia Tech a week ago. They beat them soundly. But the 4 games before that, very underwhelming, haven't looked the part. If they can put another performance together, you start saying, okay, now I believe, now I trust in this team. But they got to do it again on this Saturday.
Let me get you out of here on this. These are 2 other significant games. Number 1, Georgia. I believe you're familiar with Georgia, having gone there. That's at number 10, Auburn. Number 2, Alabama is at number 16, Mississippi State. Which of those 2 top teams is more vulnerable?
Oh, I definitely think it's Georgia. Listen, I know Alabama's got all those injuries. Mississippi State is a very much one-dimensional team. They're not going to line up and smash Alabama in the face consistently and win that battle. So Alabama's going to win that game. Now, when I look at Georgia, when you talk about that true freshman Jake Fromm going on the road, if you watch the Notre Dame game, it wasn't a true road game. Georgia fans filled that place. They went to Tennessee. Obviously, Tennessee, not a very good football team. That place was empty by the half. You think about playing Florida, half and half, not a true road test. Auburn is one of the nastiest places to play in college football. The fans are really awesome. They're loud. They're on top of you. They're going to make you scream. And listen, that defense for Auburn, they will make Georgia throw the football. Jake Fromm will have to make plays in the passing game in a tough atmosphere. So I think Georgia's definitely going to have to bring their A game. I think you look at Auburn and their offense too. Stidham done a great job throwing the football. The pass rush for Georgia hasn't been great. So Georgia definitely has to watch out against Auburn.
Thank you so much, David. Enjoy the warmth of Miami.
Yes.
Enjoy yourself.
Appreciate it, guys. We're going jet skiing, man. I'll holler at y'all later.
Come on.
Yeah, we'll do that here, too, at 20 degrees in D.C. You can catch College Game Day tomorrow starting at 9 a.m. Eastern. Let's take one last break, but still to come. Would Aaron Boone be the right man? You know, Fredette and Marbury are doing the last waltz, and there's a SWAT team on the court, which ought to scare LeAngelo Ball just a little bit.
This is Stephon Marbury's corner, man. Like, he also, by the way, won Best New Actor at, like, a Chinese film festival. He is protected over there in the utmost sense.
No errors today. Let's go to the big finish quickly. Aaron Boone reportedly a candidate to manage the Yankees. Is that a good idea?
He's responsible for my happiest memory as a baseball fan in 2003, so sure. Lonzo Ball went 3-12 from the field in a loss to the Wizards. Your thoughts?
He's being guarded. Everything is being contested. It's tough. He's
By
a kid.
oxygen.
Reports say Josh Gordon recently ran a 4.35 in the 40. Are you impressed?
He apparently ran a 4.52 even earlier, so sober Josh is a force to be reckoned with. Mark Cuban says he's honestly considering running for president. Do you believe it?
100%. A business guy just won this. Yes, it's open now. It's open to all. Last one, Cowboys at Falcons on Sunday. He got.
I guess it's the Cowboys, but I'm mostly rooting for those awkward cutaway shots to the owners.
The Cowboys, even without Ezekiel Elliott?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
We're out of time. Try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
And I'm Pablo Torre. Same time tomorrow. This is not the case, but you can get the PGI podcast on